Klondyke. What is it? Well, this will be explained further in the video, so buckle up, we're going for a long ride. Klondyke is a small 042 tank engine with short stumpy wheels and a tall dome with distinct rectangle windows. Built in 1927 by the Perry Engineering Company, builders number 271 was one of 12 standard design 040 3'6" gauge locomotives. You may be asking, I thought Klondyke was an 042. Well, yes, but I'll explain later. Purchased in 1928 for the State Rivers and Water Supply Commission of Victoria on construction of the Hume Weir on the Murray River near Albury. Klondyke was allocated for the Bathanga Bridge project managed by New South Wales side of the river. Klondyke, out of the 12, was built for a 3-foot gauge to accommodate for the system that was there, shuttling around materials for the construction of the bridge. Following the completion of the bridge, Klondyke was re-gauged to 3'6", like her other sisters, and worked for the Hume Reservoir project. After the construction of the reservoir was complete, Klondyke was brought by Mick David Machinery Company in Melbourne and sat around for a bit, later being purchased and served at Mount Morgan Mines Limited. And after providing useful service at Mount Morgan, she was later purchased by the Pioneer Sugar Mills Limited in 1939 alongside Kilry and Taipan. The initial use of these Perry locos showed its rough riding, as 040 type locomotives were known for bouncing around and giving the crew discomfort while in motion. Between 1940 to 1945, all three engines were given a trailing wheel and turning them to the known 042 wheel arrangement, shortly after being fitted with oil burning equipment and a new paint job to fit in with the new other locos. Around this time, all three engines were given names we know today, with number 271 Klondyke, number 265 Kilry, and number 269 Taipan. All three engines spent the rest of their time at the mill shuttling around cane bins until each of them worn themselves out, with Taipan being the first to go out in 1960, Klondyke in 1962 following Taipan, and Kilry's information wasn't found while making this video. Because of the nature of the sugar mill railways, Klondyke and her other sisters would have had a couple fare accidents, and one of them was documented here. All three engines sat around the sugar mill and were replaced with the newly purchased diesels and stayed there until roughly 1966, where all three engines were split up, with Kilry going to Australian Narrow Gauge Railway Museum Society, Taipan scrapped in the same year. But some people supposedly believe that the engine wasn't scrapped and sits in the shed today in Queensland. Lastly, Klondyke. Klondyke was acquired by the Geelong Steam Preservation Society through the mastermind David Beck, who was a member of the society, who got the sugar mill to give it to the GSPS in the same year, out of service. Located in the Belmont Common, where a little line was created somewhere in the 1970s. On a little divergent topic, the line was created to preserve the former Fineswood Railway, the locos being a Hudswell Clark number 646, known as number 6, a Vulcan Foundry number 4, initially with a Queensland Railways PB class PB15 and a South Australian Railways T class T251. Back to Klondyke. She sat around the main shed, which was an aircraft hangar, being repaired with the removal of the sandboxes and fitting and plumbing of the air brakes. The story goes like this. Some volunteers at the time also worked at the West Coast Railway, and when the R classes were finished being painted, they took the paint and brought it back to Klondyke, and she was painted in a West Coast blue livery. Klondyke never pulled any passengers while at the Belmont, but was steamed up. In 1979, the GSPS was able by VicTrack to re-gauge the old Queenscliff branch line from 5'3" to 3'6" in Queenscliff and Lakers siding. And slowly, each engine from the Belmont was moved to Queenscliff in 1971. In 1983, Klondyke was leased out to the Mount Lyell ABT Wilderness Railway Queenstown, Tasmania, to help the reconstruction of the old Mount Lyell line from Queenstown to Regatta Point, and while being in Tasmania, it was given the green and gold livery. Klondyke was involved in a nasty accident leading to an early ending, and was sent back to the Bellarine with a broken trailing axle. And in the 2000s, Klondyke returned in 2001 to the Bellarine and continued regular service under speed restrictions, and doubling or triple heading events in Easter with number 6 or number 4. In 2009, brought a new idea to the branding of the Bellarine Railway, as the railway already hosts Friends of Thomas events, which are events that don't directly involve Thomas but have engines from the railway or made up engines to fit the railway's engines. Klondyke was chosen by Mattel to be the mascot of Thomas, as the Friends of Thomas events were being phased out, being painted iconic Thomas blue, given fake splashes and the removal of the cowcatcher or pilot, cylinder cladding being black in an attempt to hide the cylinders, and given a Thomas face to say. Now the railway uses Thomas for the Dow with Thomas events and other having the Thomas features taken off when Klondyke pulls the heritage. Also in the same year, another Perry loco, the same as Klondyke, was purchased and is sitting around Queenscliff. An ex-Finesford loco built as number 267, or known as number 11, my personal favourite. For 15 continuous years, Klondyke maintained a consistent service as Thomas for the events, and Klondyke for when the heritage services are on. And in 2011 she was put in a ferry that went to Melbourne as a one-off event. It's crazy to think this might be the real-life counterpart to Big World, Big Adventures, as the movie revolves around Thomas moving around the world to see many countries. But it's Klondyke that has moved around Australia and seeing many places. But continuing, she worked for 13 years after that, but as most things wear out and go out of service. So in the winter of April 2024, she was put out of service and put into heavy restoration. The restoration covered the replacement of the trailing wheel, where a replacement was found in the Burikin Machinery Preservationist in Queensland. Side tank rust replacement, boiler tube replacement as some had not been replaced since it arrived at Queenscliff after the accident, and a new paint job. I was lucky enough to help out with this project, with restoring the cowcatcher or pilot, which was documented here. And less than a year's worth of restorations, she returned back to service with a new boiler ticket. In April 21st, Klondyke pulled her first heritage service since 2009. During the day, after the second service, she was turned around on the turntable located in Queenscliff and now faces Drysdale, like other locos at the railway. This video took roughly a week to get this finished. I appreciate the help and information given out to the project. Their large knowledge of Klondyke greatly helped the process of the video production, and other links will be put in the description for any further reading. All media and video, like the photos of the Perrys, are not mine, and were found online. I'm aware the captions aren't the greatest, and have misspelled many things wrong, but I can't really be bothered to fix it. This will be a continuing video series with other engines, mostly from the Bellarine Railway. But these videos won't be consistent content, but will be mixed up with other of my lower quality videos. Thanks for watching and see you another time.